Today we discuss Vice President Sara Duterte's controversial remarks. Should she be prosecuted or defended? If defending Vice President Sara Duterte regarding her controversial remarks, a defense would likely focus on these key areas. 1. Contextualizing the remarks, interpretation versus intention. Emphasize that her comments were hypothetical or rhetorical and not indicative of an actionable threat. She may have been expressing frustration or making a point about the gravity of security concerns against her. Focus on security issues. Argue that her remarks highlight the high-pressure environment she faces, underscoring the need for enhanced measures to address security threats against public officials. This context is crucial in understanding the intensity of her statements and the environment in which they were made. 2. Legal defense. No immediate threat or action. Stress that her statement does not constitute an immediate threat or conspiracy, as no evidence suggests actions were taken to fulfill the alleged contract. Political motivations in criticism. Suggest that her remarks are being exaggerated or politicized by opponents aiming to discredit her, especially in the context of upcoming elections and ongoing investigations into her office's confidential funds. Highlighting the political landscape can help frame her comments as part of a broader strategy by her opponents to undermine her credibility. 3. Public relations approach. Clarify and apologize. Recommend that she issue a clear statement explaining her intent, acknowledging any misinterpretation, and reaffirming her commitment to the rule of law. Shift focus to governance. Highlight her accomplishments or ongoing initiatives to counteract the narrative and demonstrate her leadership capabilities. By showcasing her achievements, she can redirect public attention to her positive contributions and away from the controversy. 4. Ethical appeal. Framing as a misstep. Frame her comments as a lapse in judgment rather than a serious threat, pointing to her previous track record of public service. Humanizing the response. Appeal to empathy by addressing the pressures and risks faced by leaders, including personal safety concerns and political hostility. By humanizing her response, the defense can create a more relatable and sympathetic image of the Vice President. A defense would require balancing acknowledgement of the seriousness of her statements while presenting them in a context that minimizes their perceived threat. This delicate balance is essential to maintain her integrity while addressing public concerns. A proactive approach, clarifying her intent and focusing on policy, could mitigate backlash while maintaining her public image. By taking control of the narrative, she can steer the conversation towards her policy goals and away from the controversy, ensuring that her political agenda remains at the forefront. To prosecute Vice President Sara Duterte based on her remarks about contracting an assassin, a comprehensive and meticulous legal strategy must be employed. This strategy would involve several critical steps to ensure that the case is robust and stands up to scrutiny in court. First and foremost, the prosecution must focus on investigating the evidence of a crime. This involves a thorough examination of all available information and materials related to the case. 1. Investigating evidence of a crime. This step is crucial as it lays the foundation for the entire case. Establish context and intent. Review the exact wording of her statements to determine if they constitute a credible threat or incitement to violence under Philippine laws. This involves analyzing the context in which the statements were made and the intent behind them. Investigate whether there is corroborating evidence, like communications or actions, that supports the claim of planning or contracting an assassination. This could include phone records, emails, or other forms of communication that indicate a conspiracy or intent to commit a crime. Examine security and confidential funds. Investigate the source of her alleged ability to contract assassins, especially in connection with the ongoing probe into her office's confidential funds. This step is essential to establish a financial link to the alleged crime. 2. Citing relevant laws. The prosecution must identify and cite the specific laws that have been violated, rebellion or sedition laws. If the statements suggest undermining constitutional authority or encouraging violence, they could be prosecuted under provisions related to sedition or rebellion. These laws are designed to protect the stability and integrity of the government. Threats to the president. The Philippine Revised Penal Code includes provisions against making threats, particularly toward the president. This is a serious offense that carries significant legal consequences. Misuse of public office. If confidential funds were misused or linked to these claims, they could bolster charges such as graft or malversation. This would add another layer of criminal activity to the case. 3. Building the case. Testimony and documentation subpoena witnesses, including those present when the remarks were made. Their testimonies can provide crucial insights and corroborate the evidence. Collect relevant recordings or transcripts of her statements for evidence. These recordings can serve as direct evidence of the statements made and their context. National security justifications frame the prosecution as a matter of safeguarding democratic institutions and preventing harm to elected officials. This approach emphasizes the broader implications of the case for national security. Public confidence in rule of law emphasize the principle that no public official is above the law, underscoring the seriousness of the allegations. This helps to maintain public trust in the legal system. 4. Public and political dimensions. The prosecution must navigate the public and political aspects of the case carefully. Media and public awareness. Leverage public interest to ensure transparency in the legal process while avoiding trial by media. This involves managing media relations and public communications effectively. Congressional oversight seeks support from legislators if the statements reveal misconduct that could lead to impeachment or further accountability. This step ensures that the case has the necessary political backing. Challenges. The defense could argue that her statements were rhetorical or misinterpreted. This is a common defense strategy in cases involving public figures. To counter this, prosecutors would need to prove a real threat or illegal activity based on her remarks and conduct. This requires presenting compelling evidence and arguments. Establishing credibility and intent is critical to a successful case. The prosecution must demonstrate that the statements were not only made but were intended to incite or threaten violence. Recap both sides of the debate, highlighting the key arguments and points raised by each side. Do you think Vice President Sara Duterte should face legal consequences for her remarks, given the context and implications? Or is she being unfairly targeted by her political opponents and the media? Let us know in the comments below and join the conversation.